we're at a point we're divorced, but Alex's mom is putting up with way too much. There's unbelievable theft going on, and just I'm not talking physical abuse. It's not that, not even verbal abuse, but theft for sure, and heavy drug use. So I say, and maybe it was easier for me because I wasn't there in that situation day after day, but I know if I had been, I'd have done the same thing. And I say, he needs to bottom out. He needs to go on the street. I'm willing to do that because I knew she couldn't and wouldn't. And so we've never done the fisticuff thing. So it was just I just said, you've got to get in the car. I'm gonna take you down to Jimmy Hale. And he was scared to death. But at the point, I'm sure he's hiding it like crazy. But it was weird for me. And I'll never forget when just put you out and got out and left. And I think, how can you be, talking to myself, this cruel and this hard-hearted, but yet it wasn't you. See, it wasn't Alex in a way, so it helped to be able to think that way. But yeah, that was tough. And it was a couple times, 3 times, twice.
I lost count. It was a lot. And for, like you said, it wasn't me. Putting myself in his shoes, I 100% see everything that he's talking about now, because and I'm almost thankful that he wasn't in the house at that point in time, because I think that he could have done it if he was there, but I don't know. And it was a lot easier. That was crucial for me to get to the point where I was ready to do something different. For both of them to just be done. And it had to happen several times, and my mom had to become fed up enough and say, I just can't live like this anymore. She was sleeping with her laptop and her purse locked in her car, the doors to the house locked, alarm turned on in case I opened a door, and her keys underneath her pillow. So it was, and obviously that's not me. That's, no parent in their right mind would think that is their child that they raised. I was raised better, and I would never do that. So it literally was not me anymore. And so I think that did make it easier for him to do it. And like I said, I'm almost glad that he wasn't in the house, so he was in a position where he could do that. And I know I said it before, but to reiterate, that was crucial. And I see that working with Gulf Breeze now, I see it all the time with families that I talk to, that the thing a lot of times that keeps in a parent-child role with addiction, the thing that keeps the child or the grown child from getting better is the parents not willing to do the hard thing. Because in coming from the child's point of view, I know it may sound harsh, but it has to be done, because there's no need to change if everything's taken care of.
I think the detox and the health aspect of the initial stages of what goes on at Gulf Breeze is different. Would that give you ears to hear better than a previous place where it was pretty basic detox?
Yes, because the reason the detox here was so much different and so much better than the other places I went to was that, after I was detoxed off of the drugs, before I got thrown in, it wasn't a straight detox to program. Mm-hmm. We have a transitioning period, and we use a spa to do that. So we have detox, then you transition into the residential program with the spa program. So in the mornings, instead of being in these classes that are deeper and make a little more sense once you've been there a little bit longer and your mind is cleared, You're in the afternoon classes with everyone else, same schedule. The only difference is you're in the spa in the morning, and you're just literally finishing your detox process, getting everything out of your system, so your mind, when you move into morning classes, is clear. And as I was in the afternoon classes, I got introduced to the material and what we were learning without just getting thrown in the deep end and being like, what are y'all talking about? So I know my dad had mentioned that it wasn't me when he had to take me out of the house and drop me off at a homeless shelter, not even knowing if I was going to really stay at that homeless shelter. But he said that it wasn't me. But from my standpoint and from the opposite side of the street, it wasn't me. But in that mind frame at that time, it was almost like, well, who are these people that are treating me like this? And because when you're in the midst and the throes of this addiction, it plays tricks on you. You're not yourself, but you're not thinking like yourself either. So there's a huge lack of taking responsibility for what you do. So I didn't see my part in a lot of things that I was doing, and so I almost felt like I was being wronged at times, and like, how can y'all drop me off at a homeless shelter? And if you really cared about me, you would, ride this out with me and try to help me. But looking back on it, that's exactly what they were doing. And I referred to this earlier when we were talking with the fact that parents have to be prepared to do the hard thing, or else there is no hope. And I'm so grateful looking back now, as upset or mad as I could have been at the time, I'm so grateful now that they were able to do the hard thing, because I don't know if I would be sitting here now. Not just sitting here, but alive. I probably wouldn't be, because I've seen being in my own addiction and then helping other people get out of addiction. I've seen people love their children to death, literally love them to death, to the point where they're not willing to do the hard thing, and their child ends up dying because they're so afraid of doing the hard thing because they think their child will die if they put them on the street, that they die in their home. And it's such a hard conversation to have with a parent, because it's letting go, and losing control for anyone is scary, let alone of your child. But if we're being honest, you don't have control anyway. When they're at the point where you need to put them out of the house, you don't have any more control. So it's just like my mind played tricks on me when I was saying, who are you to put me out of the house? Which is, from an outside point of view, is absurd. You're like, look at what you're doing to them. But I didn't see it because I was emotionally, mentally in the middle of it. A parent doesn't see how crazy it is to think that they still have some kind of control over the child in the middle of an addiction in their house. An outsider will say, they're doing drugs in your house and stealing from you. What kind of control do you think you have? But to the parent in the middle of it, because they're in their house, I'm keeping them safe, or maybe I can keep them alive one more day if they're around me. When in reality, it couldn't be any further from the truth. So it all boils down to me in this relationship of being able to do the hard thing. And that a lot of times is the first step towards getting help for someone. It really is. Of course, I've seen people do it without it, but the majority of the time, it is the first step. It's the first step into treatment.
Told his mom, I said, you're killing him. He's going to overdose in your basement. And will that feel better than overdosing on the street? And she said, yes. That's that's where I'd rather have him die here. Well, Alex wanted me to come to his graduation. It was a big deal for him. I knew after having talked with him on the phone that he was back, so I was looking forward to going, but we also needed to get him set up, kind of get his feet on the ground. At the time, we didn't know what he was going to do, but there was this sense that, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. So making our way down to Gulf Breeze, going to the graduation, seeing the folks that are in there, and there's the staff. It was plain to me pretty quick that, well, he's made a big impression here. These people really love him, and I remember telling them at the ceremony, because you spoke, Alex. You said a few words. It was heartfelt, and I just felt like I needed to say a little something, just to thank you that this worked, and everybody's got a part of that. I mean, you're the biggest part of it, because you've got to have ears to hear, and you've got to react to what's going on. But everybody had a part of that, and I was real thankful to all of them for that. And then we struck out and got the license, got the car, got the apartment, and got all that stuff done in a short period of time, so you could just start this new life, this new life.
Yeah. So the first time I'd seen my dad since before I came down to Gulf Breeze, so it had been a couple months really since I'd seen him, and I was in the depths before I saw him, or before I came to Gulf Breeze. So it was a much different feel when I saw him this time, and it was funny because when we left graduation, so he was there for my graduation, and then when we left graduation, he hung out for a couple of days with me in town and helped me get set up, and just kind of barely get my feet on the ground where I could start moving and try to start this new life. And it was so much different than it was before, and it wasn't like it was before I gotten into drugs, because I wasn't that person again. I was a new person. I was different, and our relationship had changed immensely to it went from, I feel like, a parent to a mentor / friend relationship, where he didn't have to parent me anymore.
Can I tell you something else that I felt like was different? Before, and even especially coming out of a rehab situation, there was this anxiety and this tension and this anxiousness about this new life that you were about to step into, and you would be so wound up, and you learned how to deal with that and change that. And boy, that was a big difference, because you were like, this is okay. And it was this calmness that I'd never seen that before. Never. That was cool.
Yep, definitely. And so we experienced that, and also just the little time that we did get to spend together was, like you said, it was different this time. It was there was no, it was kind of an unspoken thing. We never really talked about it. It was just kind of an unspoken, you're okay now. It, like I said, unspoken, and that was so cool that it was just, oh, you're okay.
Well, here's another thing that's different, which I love. This new Alex is that there's these texts and these phone calls and these funny things and stuff that comes, email. He's young, so it's more text than email. but still, it's like we've got this relationship going, which is, we've probably never had it to the extent that it is now, and we're both going to go through some of the same kind of things in what we're doing work-wise. But it's there's this new bond that's I enjoy it.
Yeah, and that just goes back to what I was saying, that it's refreshing what they did for me. They did a million things for me at Gulf Breeze, but besides getting me off drugs, they grew me up.
I like that.
They did.
Yeah.
I was totally 100% dependent upon my parents for everything before I came to Gulf Breeze, and they taught me how to stand on my own 2 feet, and not just parents. It applies to that, but not lean on anyone. They showed me that I didn't need to lean on anyone, that I could stand on my own 2 feet by myself, and that was sufficient, and that I was a whole person by myself, and I didn't need a second half. That was something, whether it was it's something different, I feel like, for everybody, but I feel like a lot of people feel like they need a person to complete them. For me, I felt like I needed a drug to complete me, and when I say complete me, I just mean feel normal. So it can be something different for everyone, but they showed me that that was not true. And I would say for my parents, a huge thing that I'm sure they've noticed, and something I've noticed, is they grew me up. And so
I'm getting your t-shirt, grew me up.
yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's classic. That's really good.